By now, we all know about the blockbuster trade between the Seattle Seahawks and the New York Jets, involving a couple of safeties, some first-round picks, and some other picks. Out of those two safeties, one of them was on the top 10 coverage list according to Next Gen Stats through advanced analytics. The other was Jamal Adams. Probably shouldn't have said that. Because I'm going to get in trouble in the comment section for saying that. But y'all don't want the stats. Y'all don't want the facts. Bradley McDougald is an elite safety. Okay, maybe I'm going to overstep a little bit, but I got a point to make. What is going on, guys? My name's RZFO Sports here, and I continue day after day. Really, it's just been the last 2 days. I continue to see a lot of people talk about this trade, and it's a very big trade. Jamal Adams is one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the NFL. That's up to your opinion. Honestly, I think Justin Simmons is better. I'm gonna get into that later. Please don't dislike. Please hold your horses. Anyway, a lot of people are seeing to talk about this trade. They think that the Seahawks overspent on him. I mean, 2 first-round picks is a lot for a safety. But a lot of people are not talking about the other transaction that the Seattle Seahawks gave up and the New York Jets acquired. And that is Bradley McDougald. A lot of people just view this as another piece, more so like the bag of potato chips teams throw in when they're trying to get rid of players. But Bradley McDougald is not a bag of potato chips. And a matter of fact, he's a gourmet sandwich. He is a baller, and it's time to talk about one of the most important aspects of this trade. Yes, the first-round picks are lovely, and they're going to help the Jets rebuild for the future. But right now, Bradley McDougald is still a very, very solid player. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. This video is not going to be too long, but let's just get into it. In the last 2 years, Bradley McDougald has 5 picks, 15 passes defended, 4 forced fumbles, and a lot of tackles. I didn't write that down. I'm sorry. I probably should have wrote that down. But I didn't write that down because I don't feel like tackles is an overly important stat unless you're talking about tackling machines like Buda Baker. And yeah. Obviously, he does not have the same presence at the line of scrimmage as Jamal Adams. I don't think anyone has the same presence at the line of scrimmage as Jamal Adams. But in terms of man coverage, Bradley McDougald is one of the best safeties in the game, and that is why he is the only strong safety that appears on this top 10 next-gen stats list, and that Jamal Adams does not show up. The only people ahead of Bradley McDougald on this list are Justin Simmons, Eddie Jackson, and Harrison Smith. This list goes off of a couple things. It was made by Nick Shook on next-gen stats. Basically, to qualify for this list, you needed at least minimum 300 snaps in coverage and minimum 40 targets. So, first of all, it's passer rating allowed, which is, that's a pretty important stat. Then you have catch rate below expectation. Then you have tight window percentage. So how often are you causing a tight throw from opposing quarterbacks? I think that's important as well. You have target rate. Obviously, you want a lower target rate because that means that you're covering them better. That's just simple knowledge. Average separation, you want to be close to whoever you're covering. And yeah, that's all. But Bradley McDougald, I've noticed one thing. We're going to go take a trip into the mediocre RZFL film room in a second. But I've noticed one thing while looking at his film. He fares very, very well in man coverage. In zone, it's iffy, but what do I know? I'm not an expert. Man coverage, he looks very solid out of the limited film I saw. He looks like he's explosive, gets to the ball fast, and this is a very good option for the Jets. So this is why that Bradley McDougald is so high on this list. I have no idea what Jamal Adams' stats are because they didn't want to give them to me, but that's besides the point. Bradley McDougald is on this list not simply because his stats are flashy, but also because he's a very good player. But that's not to say the stats aren't flashy. I want to let these stats speak for themselves. A few I want to really go over, though, is passer rating allowed at 54.4. That is beyond solid. That is one of the more elite passer ratings in the league allowed. And in the last 2 years, he's 5th best among all passer rating allowed. So that says a lot about you in terms of that takes in account of completion percentage allowed, your yardage allowed, your touchdowns allowed, and your picks. It's a much more better, efficient stat to look at than just looking at interceptions and so on and so forth. Then another really important stat here, and this is what blows my mind. A separation of 2.9 yards average on every single play from receivers. That is a very good stat. That is a stat for an elite lockdown corner. And Bradley McDougald's a strong safety. That just emphasizes how good he is in man coverage. Then you have his completion percentage allowed below expectation at negative 9.8%, essentially meaning he was able to force 10% more incompletions than expected. Again, very, very solid. And something that isn't directly on this list that's mentioned in the article for his placement and why he is a top 10 defensive back in the NFL and the best strong safety in coverage, according to Next Gen Stats, is his 62% coverage win rate, which is 4th best among all defensive backs in the league, only behind Justin Simmons, J.C. Jackson, and Eddie Jackson. Elite company, if you ask me. And I think it's start time to put some respect on the gourmet sandwich's name. Put some respect on that Bradley McDougald. Maybe get some more fancy bread, some more fancy toppings. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Let's just go ahead in the film room. I put this off for a little bit. Here we go. This is one play in particular. This is a pretty big play in the game. It's a 7-3 ball game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Philadelphia Eagles. If you do know, the Seahawks go ahead and win this game 17-9, and this play puts the Seahawks in a solid position to win the game when we talk about everything in the grand scheme of things. The Seahawks are in a simple cover 1. They are rushing 6 people, though Bradley McDougald is in man coverage down at the bottom of the screen, and he's covering Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert. It's a pretty solid matchup for him considering his man coverage skills, and the pressure is really going to get to Wentz. You're going to notice that McDougald's going to have safety help, and he's going to use that to his advantage. This film angle that I found isn't very good, but you could definitely see that Carson Wentz is under some heavy pressure, and the pressure is going to force him to make a very hesitant throw off his back foot, kind of. It's just not a good throw. McDougald recognizes it, has great awareness, knows he has safety help behind him, meaning that he can afford to make a play on the ball and not have to give up a touchdown. Obviously, he's going to make this play anyway. It's an underthrown ball, but it shows his instincts in man coverage, and he makes a good play and intercepts the ball, puts Seattle in the possession in their hands, and doesn't allow the Eagles to continue this drive and potentially score a touchdown. Very, very solid play, if you ask me. He did this against the Panthers, too. He's done this the last 2 years very effectively. He did it in his time in Tampa Bay as well, and I expect him to go ahead and do it with the Jets in Greg Williams' system. It's just that simple. I feel like we need to be putting a little bit more respect on this guy's name and start acknowledging that this isn't just an add-on. Obviously, if the Seahawks are trading for Jamal Adams, they're not going to want to have 2 strong safeties, so they did ship him away. But this is a very valuable asset for the Jets to use for this current season, and maybe potentially he has a future in green. So that's going to be the video, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Sorry this video is out a couple days later than anticipated. I initially messed up some of the audio, but that's okay. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I mentioned that before. Comment anyone down below that you'd like me to make a video on. And this is RZFL Sports signing off. Go Browns. Dog check.